If you ask the average ESO PvPer if the game currently has a tank meta, they would answer with a resounding yes. Now, while I do agree that ESO does have a tank meta currently, I personally don't think it is for the reason that most people say. Most people you talk to will say that healing is too high, and because of that, people are just impossible to kill. You get them low, they hold block and heal themselves back up to full, and just like that, all of your efforts seem to have been in vain. However, I argue that the issue is not with the healing itself, but rather with the game's damage profile and how a player's damage is distributed among the two damage types, direct burst damage and damage over time, as well as a particularly controversial set that was added to the game, Mara's Balm. Before we get into today's video though, be sure to hit the like button if this type of discussion video does sound interesting to you, and subscribe if you'd like to see more videos like this. I do plan on doing more MMO discussion type videos going forward, so definitely comment down below as well if you'd like to see more videos like this. So update 35 in the Elder Scrolls Online, arguably one of the most controversial updates in the history of the game, has left the game combat-wise in a very weird state for both PvP and PvE. And it is one that ZeniMax seems to want to move forward with, as can be seen with the very few combat changes going into update 36. If you're unaware, one of the biggest things that did happen this previous update in update 35 was that they nerfed dots very, very hard, and in my opinion, this played a big role in why the game feels so strange now, like I said, in both PvP and PvE. Now, while I am happy to see that the update quarter 4 patch, update 36, is not going to have any sweeping game-shattering changes, in my opinion, it is still failing to address many of the core problems that Update 35 has caused. Now, this video is not about Update 35 in my opinion on it. There are plenty of videos like that on YouTube. But instead, I want to discuss the PvP meta that the update has left in its wake. Update 35 has caused one of the tankiest metas that the game has seen in a long time, and in my opinion, the over-nerfing of dot damage is what caused it, and I argue that dot damage needs to be buffed again if we want this tank meta to go away. Now, before you run down to the comments like, Dots Gaming is saying buff dot damage, he wants Scale Breaker again, he's saying that because he plays a Mag DK, fuck him, fuck this video, dislike, I want you to just take a breath, turn off your Zos brain, and hear me out. Buffs and nerfs do not have to be to the absurd level that ZeniMax has used to balance the game in the past. What I propose is for a small tune up of dot damage and a small tune down of burst damage to even out the damage profile that most players have. When you fight most people in ESO currently, they exist in one of two states, essentially full health or dead, with barely any in between. One-shot potential is still absolutely there in the Elder Scrolls Online. Gankers do still have insane bursts, and classes that currently perform the best in PvP overall are ones that have essentially a big one-punch potential. But the problem of the game's current combat situation is that when you're not essentially one-tapping your opponent, they just survive. I'm sure you've experienced this yourself. You go to burst down your opponent, get them really low, only for them to just heal back up with no issues. The issue with that is not, in my opinion, the healing itself, but actually a lack of consistent pressure and follow-through. Due to a lack of consistent pressure, you are unable to power through your opponent's defense and have that follow-through after your burst opportunity. Now, whenever I do mention this, people go, well, dots, how is dot damage the issue? They're just holding block and burst healing, you noob. Well, concerned PvP player, part of the reason that players are able to consistently do that, what I mean is like heal themselves up from the brink of death, is because pressure outside your main go, aka your big burst attempts, is basically non-existent, leaving players with plenty of resources to defend themselves when that big burst moment comes. Now, I do think that the nerfing of Vigor is going to help in Update 36 and is definitely a good change overall, and I'm very happy to see them do it with a smaller number. However, I do feel to really even out the PvP meta, a small nerf to burst with a small buff to dot damage would make PvP feel more even and less extreme compared to now. Personally, I find the get one shot or live meta that we're in right now particularly boring, and bringing pressure-based gameplay back would make PvP feel more dynamic and open up more build options. This obviously won't solve all of the problems though. Certain classes that have less dot damage may need to be adjusted, but then we can actually go back to normal class balancing and less game sweeping changes. Now, while I do feel adjusting the damage profile of the game would fix one of, the tank meta issue that we kind of are seeing in PvP, there is one other key offender in my opinion, and that is going to be Mara's Balm. For those who are unaware, Mara's Balm is a set that makes it so that when negative effects are removed from you, you are healed, and this can occur every second. And in ZeniMax's eyes, an effect being removed is basically the dots being reapplied, CC breaking, effects ending. Like, there's just so many things that cause this. So you are essentially getting this heal every single second. On top of that, its 5-piece has a second effect. When you take damage and have 6 or more negative effects on you, you restore 1600 health per negative effect and cleanse all of them once every 15 seconds. I find it really interesting that ZeniMax put a set like this into the game, which goes directly against the standards that they put in place for the game. They've talked about how they don't like when certain abilities or sets do too many things simultaneously, as can be seen via the nerfs to many players' favorite sets and abilities, yet a set like this was added in Update 35. A set that is a hot, a burst heal, and the best purge in the game all rolled into one, and stronger than sets that just serve a singular purpose on their own, such as Robes of the Hist and Word Tree, because this set is essentially a better version of both of those sets rolled into one. Why would I ever use one of those other sets when I could just use Mara's Balm when it's both of them and a better version of both? And look, I'm not saying nerf the set into the ground. I don't like when things are added and nerfed into the ground into unusability, because again, it will remove build diversity, which should be a strength of a game like ESO. I think the set should be strong and good to use, just like many sets in the game should be. And I don't want to choose the best among a batch of broken toys. However, this set is very clearly overperforming right now, but personally I think all they really need to do is revert the healing back to the second iteration of the set, which I think was something like 950, 951 tooltip heal, and then keep the new 1 second internal cooldown that they added to the heal so it's not proccing simultaneously. This set will still have the best purge in the entire game, will have a roughly steady 500 heal per second, and it will have a big burst heal every purge proc and still purge everything off of you. So if you combine the cooldown with the proposed nerfed healing values that I'm mentioning here, the set will still serve its 3 purposes, but not to the absurd level that it currently is. I feel like, ZeniMax, they nerfed the healing number at first, which was just not the right solution to it. Then they added the cooldown and rebuffed the healing number, which is like, okay, good, you added the cooldown, but you didn't need to rebuff the healing. I think they just need to bring both of those nerfs kind of together, where you are adding a cooldown to it and you are lowering the healing value back to its original value, the proposed one of 950, which was the second nerf. And I think that the set will be in a much healthier spot. And look, I'm not typically a fan of, a million nerfs to one thing at the same time. I am a fan of doing one thing at a time and adjusting over time. But as we have been able to see, we adjusted the healing value. It wasn't enough. We added a cooldown. I don't think it's fully enough yet. And I think combining those two now will make the set still very good to use, but bring it in line with other sets in the game and allow more choice and more build variety, and also help with the game's tank meta. But that's my solution, guys. Reorient the game's damage profile a bit, make another adjustment to Mara's Balm, and I believe that, combined with the changes to Vigor, the game will feel much healthier than it currently is. But that's all I have for today's video, guys. Again, let me know your thoughts in the comment section below, what you think about the game's PvP meta at the moment, but please keep it civil. We are just discussing a video game. It's not that big of a deal, so be sure to keep things civil and just have a nice discussion with your fellow ESO players. If you guys did like this video, though, please smack a like on it and subscribe for more MMORPG discussion videos. And again, don't forget to let me know below as well if you guys did enjoy this, because if you guys did, I would like to make more MMO discussion videos like this. But anyway, guys, I appreciate y'all stopping by. I hope you all enjoyed the video. Thank you all very much. As always, I'm Dots Gaming, and I'll see you all in the next video.